Hello everyone, my name is Will Russo. Today we're on location at the Etowah Indian Mounds, and we're going to learn all about this amazing Indian culture. This is Sacred Spaces.
The sun is rising on the misty Etowah Indian Mounds located in Cartersville, Georgia. Home to thousands of Native Americans from 1000 to 1550 AD, this 54-acre site feels like walking into a portal of a time long forgotten. Keith Bailey is the curator at the Etowah Indian Mounds and a man with a deep love for the history of the area. We spoke about the site and the symbiotic relation these native tribes had with the land.
At some point, we know that the Coosa tribe lived here, and they eventually became part of the Creek Confederacy. But the site here was occupied first around 800 AD. Probably as a small village, very low in habitation, and then around 950 to 1000 AD, it became a major town. And at that point in time, Native Americans started constructing the mounds. It became the prominent town for the area for the Native Americans that were living here up until about 1325. At that time, something happened and they abandoned the site for about 200 years. In the 1400s, we see people starting to re-inhabit the area, but the larger of the mounds weren't used anymore. Several smaller mounds started to be constructed. It was occupied at the time Hernando de Soto comes through in 1540, and a little bit after that, the site seems to be, for the most part, permanently abandoned. The population up and down the river still maintains itself, and in the late 1700s we see that a site that is called Etowah was about 2 miles upstream, and that's where this site actually gets its name. Native Americans think that it was just a continuation of this village. Basically, the center of the site moved out of what they would have considered the sacred area with the larger mounds that would have been the place for the head, the main chiefs to live, to a smaller township, as the site seems to have, its capital moved to a different area.
Mound A!
Mound A is the largest mound, coming in at 63 feet, which is taller than a 6-story building. You want to talk about a workout? Try climbing up and down this all day long.
Whew. Wow, that's a doozy. So this is Mound A. This is the tallest mound in the whole area. This is where the tribal leaders would live. They would offer up sacrifices and hold their religious ceremonies right here. Whew, pretty amazing.
The mounds are a testament to the strength of the tribes at the height of their civilization. They are an integral part of the land.
Here we have a diorama of the layout, a general schematic of how the site here at Etowah is laid out. And this is just the downtown portion of the site. There's other portions on the other side of the river and outside that your more common people would have lived in. This is more of your upper class society. And at different portions of time frame, less and less people lived in the downtown area. But the site is constructed with the defensive ditch around it, with a palisaded wall, and there were observation or watchtowers every so often around the wall. Portions of that was excavated, and that's the reason we know that it existed. However, we have the largest mound. This would have been where the chief would have probably lived. This is what we consider Mound A. It had terraces on it at some point, and some people even think the top was slightly terraced. This, in more modern times, in the 1800s, was basically plowed down and utilized as a ramp so that the farmers that lived in this area could also farm the top. Mound B, all the way in the back.
Mound B.
We know that Mound B, off to the side of it, had a round structure that was there prior to that mound being built, and that's because the edge of Mound B was excavated in the 60s, so there was a large structure that was round, and they think, some people think that it was probably a type of council house because of its round structure with the large fire pit. They think that that may have been, a place that everybody could go to, or at least the elders of the clan. Some people think that it may have been the council for the elders, or possibly a council for warriors. But with a round structure, with the seating on the outside edge, and everyone having equal access to the fire in the middle, the fire being a central religious theme. A lot of the Native Americans during this time period, their religious theme, from what we understand, is that the sun and the sky could be asked to live with them on the earth in the central fire. So with that, they could create this fire once a year, and once a year put it out and start a new fire. And this is basically similar to what we see in religious practices that are still seen today with some Native American cultures, where it's referred to as the busk. And so there would be dancing and other things associated with this.
Mound C.
Back in the back is your Mound C, so that's your religious burial area for the elite people. We have a ball field or a square ground or a plaza here in front of Mound C. They go by different names. A lot of the locals would refer to this as a ball ground or a square ground. Even the town of Ball Ground, upstream from here, gets its name from where a ball game was played on one of these courts at a village in the 1700s. But this area would have been where people went to shop. People would have set out a flea market type shopping area here at certain times of the year to get things from their neighbors and friends, people within the village. Certain times of year they may have even had a large market area. It also is a place where they would have had religious dances and stuff certain times of year when they had ceremonies. But its main function, of course, is as a ball field. There was a small building that probably would have been being used as a temple or a mortuary type structure. When they were done with it, the first burial would have been made, and then it was taken apart and then the mound first level built with a new structure on top of it. And it went through several phases, about 4 phases of structural engineering. So the Mound C itself was only utilized for about 4 generations and contained somewhere around 350 to 400 bodies. Archaeology in the past, along with a flooding in the 1880s, kind of make the exact number of bodies that were buried there, human remains, to be questionable, and that's because as it was washed out in the 1880s and the Smithsonian came in, early archaeological practices with missing bones and stuff, it's kind of hard to calculate exactly how many people were buried there.
A short walk from the mounds is the river. The close proximity was integral to the tribe's survival. They even used the running water to help create the mounds.
So the ancient tribe that used to live here at Etowah, along with many other Indian tribes, set up their village right by a river. And the rivers could be used for so many things: fishing, cooking, cleaning, not to mention canoeing, so each tribe could go and interact with other tribes with just a quick stroll down the river.
The mound system itself also includes the defensive ditches. So a good rainy day like this week, we'll see that the defensive ditches will fill up with water. The idea is that they would pick a location on a river where a major stream comes in as part of their architectural building style. It allowed for fishing in the river. So they would take wooden spades or digging implements, some with stone ends, and they would start to dig, so something similar to a hoe or a ground axe, and they would scrape that into a large basket about 3 gallons in size, and they would toss it over their shoulder around the top of their head with some kind of a strap and carry it out to the area where they were constructing the mounds, and they would dump it onto the ground. But before they would construct the mounds, they would actually level the ground. In some cases we've seen where they would use colored soil to kind of demark the area that they wanted to use. So we know that they performed some kind of ritualistic ceremonies before they begin the mounds, and there's written documents from different tribes that talk about the way they done that.
The Etowah Mounds represent a sacred spot in which they were used as burial mounds where life could pass on into the next world.
The whole idea of what is sacred is different to different people. So, a life is sacred no matter who you are. So as far as the burial areas, it would be sacred ground. It would be no different than our national cemetery. We would think of it as a sacred place. Some people think of memorials as sacred places. So the Lincoln Memorial, nobody's buried there, but we consider it sacred because of what it is referring to. So this area, maybe it's sacred just because it was their capital. For Native Americans in the past, literally this was their Washington, D.C. or their Atlanta, Georgia, or, pick ever which capital you're thinking. People like to, surround that in ideology and uplift it. The same way you have fans for Georgia Tech or Georgia State or, Alabama. People catch hold of that and it becomes special to them. So as far as a sacred space, lots of people have lots of different reasons for why this would be considered sacred to them.
And some of the statues that were excavated from the mounds provide insight into a culture long gone.
So the 2 marble statues were discovered here in 1953-54 by Dr. Larson while he was excavating Mound C. They're made of Georgia marble, so they would have come from the area around Tate, Jasper, up in that area. Don't really know how old they are because they're stone, but we do know that the rock or the statues would have had to have been moved here to this location. They are considered to be the most important statues of that type that were discovered in the Mississippian area, but also because they're here from the state of Georgia. Other statues like that have been found in other locations. When Hernando de Soto came through, he asked the Native Americans what they were. He got different answers from different tribes that he talked to. They called them the sons or their ancestors. So there again, it refers back to that same ideology I mentioned earlier with the two twin warriors. But because there's male and female figures, we think that they probably refer to people within their society as far as their ancestors, both male and female.
In today's time, it seems superfluous to think back thousands of years ago. Think of all the advancements we have made. But I would argue that perhaps these ancient tribes had something we don't: an innate understanding of the earth and an appreciation for all life. There are many lessons to be learned.
What would be pertinent today, with looking at the way they built their houses or they structured their society, were they, how did they fix their problems within their society, and can we fix those same problems that we have today? They had problems with hunger, and we actually learned a lot from the Native Americans when it come to agriculture. They grew corns, beans, and squash. We push that heavily in their culture. A lot of people in the South eat that same thing in their diet. More recently, we eat a lot of things. But we actually learned things like the Native Americans were harvesting fish to use as fertilizer, but their fish weirs, they have them, there's about 90 up our river. If you hunt them all or trap them all at the very first trap as they're moving upstream, the person upstream doesn't have those resources. So they were managing resources, 1,000 years ago. We can learn from that.
When times seem dark and the world at large seems like a scary place, it's reassuring to know there are still people like Sonia Osio who are using their artistic skills to bring joy and peace into the world. Born in Venezuela, Sonia is a true artist, a healer, singer, and sculptor. Her latest project is the Global Mandala, which was unveiled at Unity North Atlanta Church during the World Day of Prayer. A mandala in Sanskrit means circle and is a spiritual and ritualistic symbol in both Hinduism and Buddhism representing the universe. Mandalas are used in various spiritual traditions. They are employed for focusing attention as a spiritual guidance tool and are essential to creating a sacred space. They also serve as a way to help induce trance and meditation. This particular mandala is used to inspire and meditate on global peace. It was made from an astounding collaborative effort of thousands of individuals, aged 2 to 96, from all over the world. I met with Sonia, who discussed how she started such a massive project.
Hello everyone, I'm here with Sonia, who's put together this amazing mandala. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, mandala.
Mandala.
Yeah.
Okay, could you kind of walk me through, how did you come up with this idea?
Well, this idea, I have been doing mandalas for the last 6 years.
Okay.
And the tradition comes from the Tibetan monks.
Okay.
And I saw them working and they really inspired me.
Okay.
So I just start, as an artist, I start, how can I interpret that in my way?
All right.
What it doesn't mean to me.
Right.
So I wanted to say many things to the world. So I start I start using, depending what I wanted to talk about, I use those materials.
Okay.
Like my last one was made of recycle. And that's the way that I can experiment with another materials. And also tell a story. The mandalas, all the mandalas have a story to tell.
Okay.
So the story in the last one was that there is, many people doesn't know that it's more than 200 tons of pounds floating in the ocean.
Wow.
So that's my way of saying something. That's my activist part.
Okay.
And this is the meditation doing that thing. And for this one, that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Is my inspiration become from talk with my grandson.
Okay.
He was upset for the state of the world.
Yeah.
And I want to show him and show many other people, even myself, that there is more beauty and more hope and people doing good things that no bad things.
We need more of that
Yeah,
right now for
yeah.
sure.
So I just start. I talked to the Reverend here. I say I have this idea. I have the support of this community, and then I just start calling friends that I knew that they are social workers. Like my first contact was in Ecuador. They are seed guardian. They have recovered many acres of land. This is the face of many communities that multiply love and
This
kindness.
was from all over the world.
Yeah, I
Has
mean,
come right here.
Yeah, right here are 6 continents, 33 countries right now.
Right.
But the main idea is that if you want to know more about communities that are interface, that they try to promote that we are one. So you can go to the map of the webpage and you go to there and you have more information.
Right.
There are all kind of communities in so.
Let's take a look
And
around
that's the
some more.
second
I mean,
time.
this is amazing.
Yeah, this piece is very important to me. The centerpiece comes from Germany,
Okay.
and that means the source of life.
All right.
And that's why all the colors. This is our prayer today for the whole world. All those pictures are the animals and plants and fruits are in danger of extinction. So that's our prayer for. In my culture and in my spirituality, I honor always, first of all, the 4 elements.
Okay.
Because it's my respect to the Pachamama, that is Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And if we don't protect it, we are in real danger.
Yeah.
So this is my way to honor and to just create consciously listen, especially the world. Mother Earth is telling us right now, it's loud everywhere, all the elements are. So that's the way that I could do that part and express as an artist, okay, this is.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Each circle represents a grain of sand.
Oh, okay.
That's why I went circles.
Okay.
Like
I
the
was wondering
monks.
okay.
And as a community and as people, many grain of sands will do a piece of art, a mandala, a hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see the ceremony you guys are doing a little bit later.
Here are all the people that are participating from all over.
Okay.
Because this is as I do really feel that this is not my piece, it's our piece.
Right.
And one thing that I would love to share is here are many pieces from people that are protected, from escaping from war, refugees, children that are working, that shouldn't be working even in this land, but people that protect for abuse. It's all kind of.
It's all connected.
It's all connected, and the great thing is, 33 countries, there is no one that doesn't say peace. Everybody is the same. Peace. We all cry or laugh for the same things. It doesn't matter what is your background, your religion. We all want peace. We all want to live life, to be able to enjoy it.
It's a powerful message. Well, thanks for telling us and sharing your amazing story with us.
Thank you.
And we're going to hang around and see the ceremony as it comes underway.
Great. Thank you for this opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah, and I hope that you make a circle before you go.
Oh, okay, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I won't stop.
Okay.
I won't stop because the main idea of this too is how could I create the energy, help to create the energy of hope everywhere, and that's why I wanted out of the States. I could find people from all over here, but the idea is how to put a seed somewhere else, and that's what has been happening.
Yeah. Do you really believe like art can inspire change?
I do. To me, it's the loudest expression. You can see something and it can make you think. And what I try to do in my particular art is to make people think.
What is your hope for humanity?
Peace, and I know is understanding, is listen to each other. To me, what is separate us is ignorance, and the ignorance of we don't know what the other believe, and we might be believing the same thing. This one is made for this day, the World Day of Prayer. So I thought, how can I bring the whole world in one space? It's not the whole world, but a representation of it. So Unity North gave me the opportunity to have, yes, here, you have this space. Let's do it.
The Global Mandala is an example of how everyday space can be turned into something sacred. If we take the time to think and reflect on how someone across the world wants the same thing as us, peace, security, tranquility, maybe we could stop focusing on our differences and start focusing on our similarities.